Today, I'm showing you all of my T-Rex figures from biggest to smallest, so let's jump in. My first biggest T-Rex is this super colossal T-Rex from Jurassic World. This T-Rex has a bright orange body with a darker brown top. And just like all my super colossal figures, it can swallow miniature dinosaurs down its throat to the stomach compartment that you can open it up. My next biggest T-Rex is this super colossal Jurassic Park T-Rex. This is actually from Jurassic World Dominion. It has a much darker body. It's got black on top, brown on the sides, and a lighter underbelly. It's got a huge jaw, and this figure can also swallow miniature dinosaurs and open them up in the stomach compartment. Next up, we've got a Jurassic Park T-Rex. I believe this T-Rex was called the Bull T-Rex. And this figure too can swallow miniature dinosaurs and other small stuff, and you can empty it out in the stomach compartment. Right on top here, we've got the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex. This figure has some of the coolest coloring out of all the T-Rexes that I have, and it is remarkably adjustable too. You can bend the legs in all different directions, at the knees, at the ankles. You can bend the arms, you can twist the neck, and you can open the mouth, of course. Next, I've got this huge Jurassic World T-Rex with this ginormous head. This figure has the black top and brown sides, just like the super colossal T-Rex from Jurassic World Dominion. And this T-Rex can be controlled by moving the tail around. Back here, we've got, I believe, what is called the Terran T-Rex or something like that. The special feature on this T-Rex is the tearing action with its mouth. It swings its head around and closes it at the same time. And it's got a secondary action button to swing the tail around too. This T-Rex, also from Jurassic World, is a stompin' T-Rex. When you twist the tail, it stomps its legs up and down. And it has those cool sound effects too. Plus, as you notice with the cage, it actually breaks free from the cage just by pressing the button on its back. That is pretty cool. Here we've got another Jurassic Park T-Rex. So this is a very old figure. It's got the rubber body, and with this T-Rex figure, you can move the tail to swing the head back and forth. So it's not as advanced as the new Jurassic World T-Rexes, but it's still pretty cool. We've got tons more T-Rexes to go. Let's keep digging. This huge T-Rex with similar coloring as the first super colossal T-Rex that we saw has some pretty cool functions. When you swing the tail, it swings its head back and forth, and it has a roar function when you move the tail, and a chomping action. All just by moving the tail. That is pretty cool. Over here, we've got a darker gray colored T-Rex with some brown on the top. This is also by Jurassic World, and you can twist the neck around, you can open the jaw, there's a button on top, activate the chomping, and you can swivel the tail around and move the legs as well. I think this one's bigger than the rest of them. This T-Rex has one of my favorite functions. It's actually battery operated, so that when you press the button on its tail, it opens its mouth and shakes. It actually has a motor in it to do that, which is pretty cool. Plus, you can move the tail around to swing its neck around to look. That's really cool. This T-Rex was custom colored a long time ago. It's got the bright green on the side, and it's got like camo colors and black all over the rest of its body with the lighter underbelly. And just like that bright orange T-Rex we saw just a second ago, you can control chomping and roaring with this figure just by moving the tail around. Next up, we've got a light brown T-Rex from Jurassic World. This is very similar in function to the darker gray figure that we just saw. It has the chomping button on the top of its head. You can move its neck around, and you can adjust the rest of its body parts too. This is the extreme battle damage T-Rex from Jurassic World. It's got some different patterning along the top of its body compared to the rest of them, but the most important part is the battle damage on both sides that you can press this button up top to turn it on and off. Plus, the rest of the figure is very adjustable as well. Here's another T-Rex with some battle damage on it. It doesn't have the extreme battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off, but it does have these slashes all over its body, even its legs and its tail too. The rest of the figure is very adjustable, and of course, the button at the top of the head for chomping. Next up, we've got another custom colored T-Rex. This one is a super bright red color. Looks kind of like fire in my opinion. And it's got the black on the top and the orange striping right along the sides. And this figure is adjustable just like many of the other figures that I've shown so far too. Next up, we've got another bright orange T-Rex with the brown top. This figure is fully adjustable throughout its body, and it's got the chomp button at the top of its head. Here's one of my favorite T-Rexes. This is a dark green color, and I'm not sure that I have any other green colored T-Rexes in my collection, so this one's pretty special to me. It's also got the black detailing along the top, and its body is fully adjustable with the legs, tail, arms, and neck, and there's the button at the top of its head for chomping. Let's keep going. We still got quite a few T-Rexes to go. This T-Rex is from the old Jurassic World toy line. It's got a rubberized neck, so it's a bit flexible there, as well as the rubberized tail. And it has a chomping action with the tail. Now we're getting down to some slightly smaller T-Rex figures. This is a Jurassic World T-Rex, and it is actually a hybrid. It's got some spikes on the top of its head that you can push down and activate them by pressing the button on its back. Here is another custom colored T-Rex from the old Jurassic World toy line. It is bright red in color with black spots all over and the yellow underbelly, and it also has a chomping action on its back. Here's another similar T-Rex from the old Jurassic World toy line. This T-Rex is light tan in color all over its body. It's a little bit lighter on its belly. And just like the other two that we just saw, it has the chomping action button on its back. All right, this next T-Rex is a little bit smaller. This is a Jurassic Park T-Rex. I believe it's a juvenile T-Rex, and it's actually got some battle damage right on the side. Next up, we've got a new Jurassic World Dominion figure. This, I believe, is the Sound Surge T-Rex. It's pretty small in size, and you have to open and close its jaw manually, but it does come with some awesome sound effects. And we've got some model T-Rexes in here. I'm not sure what brand this is from, and you can't move any of the limbs or the jaw on this figure, but it's got the dark brown coloring. It's got some interesting shading and black stripes all over its body. Here is another dark brown model T-Rex, but on this one you can open and close its jaw. It's also got the black stripes and the lighter underbelly too. Check out that little bit of yellow right there on its nose. It's interesting. Here is a dark green model T-Rex. This one you cannot move any of its body parts, so it is standing in this awesome roaring pose, just like I'm sure you've seen in the movies. Here is a bright orange or red model T-Rex. With this figure you can open and close the jaw, check out all those little teeth, and this figure looks quite a bit more muscular than a lot of the T-Rexes, I will say. Here is a super bright model T-Rex. It's got the bright blue along the top of its body, as well as the gold stripes. It's got a gray underbelly and some teal coloring right along its face. Here is a darker model T-Rex. I love the attention to detail with the skin. It's like you can see all these little bumps all over its body. It's got the black stripes as well, and on this model you can open and close its mouth. Here is a super striped T-Rex. This has some really bold black stripes right along the top of its body, while the rest of its body is this soft tan or orange color. And it's got some super bright yellow eyes too. And unfortunately, you cannot move any of the body parts on this model. Next up, we've got a light green colored T-Rex with some darker shading and detailing along its body. You can see those bumps right along its spine. And this figure does not have any moving parts either, so it is stuck in this roaring pose. We've got some even smaller T-Rexes in here. Here is a Jurassic World T-Rex that is pretty small. It's probably 7 inches from tail to the nose, and it fits easily in my hand. It's got some battle damage on the side, and the tail controls the jaw and face. We've actually got a few more Jurassic World T-Rexes just like that last one. This first one is actually a hybrid T-Rex. It is a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus, as you can tell by these huge frills on the front. It's still got the battle damage on the side, and it's got this reflective gold along the top of its body and the very front too. And this T-Rex has a bright green body. It's got the battle damage on the side still, and some darker detailing right along its face. This T-Rex figure is from Jurassic Park, so this is a super old figure. It's got some interesting purple detailing along the top. It's got a tan body, and actually, this figure has a unique feature on the leg. You can actually bend it like that, because it is a broken leg for this T-Rex. Right over here, we've got another juvenile T-Rex. This one has a bandage on its leg and the restraint on its mouth, so it can't bite people. It is super bright green with some cool detailing along the back and is very adjustable with all of its limbs too. This baby T-Rex is also from Jurassic World. It is bright green or yellow in color with some detailing along the top, and when you pull down on the tail, it chomps its jaws shut. All right, we've got some super small T-Rexes in here. I believe this one is from Jurassic World. I'm not sure actually, but they are both brown in color. This one is very adjustable. You can even move the tail around, you can move the legs and open and close the jaw. But this figure doesn't have any moving parts actually. And our last two T-Rexes of this collection from biggest to smallest. We've got a bright blue T-Rex with black stripes and no movable body parts. And this T-Rex here, you can move the legs, you can twist the tail around, and you can open and close the jaw too. The first T-Rex to check out is this new 93 collection Real Feel T-Rex. Check that out, it has a rubbery skin and it has a stomach compartment so you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs. And the prey that it's up against is this brown and blue Triceratops. This figure also comes with sound effects and a head moving action. Now let's move these figures to face off against each other. The Predator and the Prey. The next T-Rex that we're checking out is the new Dino Trackers Tyrannosaurus Rex in this awesome tan coloring with the yellow coloring on the top and the brown striping. Plus it's got this really cool headpiece and it has a chomping action button. And the prey that it's up against is this massive Stegosaurus figure. This one is in the brown, tan, and green coloring, and it has two action buttons. This first button here moves its head up and down, and this second button swings its tail back and forth. So now let's place the T-Rex on the T-Rex side here, and the prey Stegosaurus on the prey side. Next up is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. This T-Rex has a massive roaring action versus its prey, the Ankylosaurus. This figure's from Jurassic World Dominion. It features the dark orange body with the brown on top and tons of spikes and a tail that controls the head. So now let's get the T-Rex in place and also its prey in place back here. Up next, we've got the new Legacy Collection Dark Green Tyrannosaurus Rex figure with the gray and yellow striping. It features a fully posable body and the button at the top of its head to chomp. And its prey that it's up against is the Kentrosaurus. This figure looks quite a bit like a Stegosaurus, but it has some massive spikes on its back and its tail and coming out of its sides as well. And it also has this torso swinging action that you can activate right on its back. So now let's get the T-Rex in place over here and its prey on this side over here. This next T-Rex is a pretty incredible one. This is a custom colored Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. Now in this beautiful camouflage color over its whole body, and it still has the battle damage on the side. And its prey that it's up against is this massive Pentaceratops figure. It has a huge frill on its head, and it comes with two action buttons. The first moves its head up and down, and the second swings its torso side to side. So let's place the T-Rex over here as the predator and the Pentaceratops over here as the prey. Our next predator T-Rex is this smaller T-Rex made by Hasbro instead of Mattel. And not only that, but it is a custom colored one. So it is now a bright red T-Rex with some black spots all over its body. And the prey that it is up against is actually another carnivore. This is an Allosaurus figure, and this one comes in the gray and yellow coloring all over its body. So now let's place the T-Rex right over here and the Allosaurus right over here. This next T-Rex is also red, but an even brighter red than the last one that we saw. Plus it has some fiery orange and yellow coming on its sides too. And it has an attack button on its head for chomping and roaring. And here is the prey that it is up against. This is a Spinosaurus in the green coloring on the top and sides. There's some tan, there's some dark orange, and it has some bright yellow eyes. Plus, on this figure, you can move the tail around to control the head and the horns. Now let's place the T-Rex over here on the T-Rex side, and the Spinosaurus over here on the prey side. Now it's time to open up this new figure that I'm sure you saw at the beginning. This is the Chase and Roar Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it transforms too. Let's open it up. And here it is in its T-Rex form. It's got the classic orange coloring, and you can see some of the parts are gonna turn into the car parts. So now let's see it in the transformed version. And here it is in the car version. Looks pretty cool. It's got the classic coloring for the Jurassic Park Jeeps. It's pretty amazing how small it is compared to how big the T-Rex was too. And the prey that the Transformer T-Rex is up against is this Ankylosaurus figure in the green, gray, and lighter gray coloring. And it has an action button on its back to swing the tail back and forth. So now we're gonna place the Transformer T-Rex / Jeep right here on the T-Rex side and the Ankylosaurus over here on the prey side. This next T-Rex is the Camp Cretaceous Epic Roarin' T-Rex, one of my favorite. It has the light tan coloring on the sides, a little bit darker on the top, but the best part is this tail and button on the tail that you can move around to control the head in a really lifelike way. And that T-Rex is going up against this Iguanodon figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It has the light yellow tan coloring with the brown detailing on its body and an attack action when you press down on its body. So now let's place the T-Rex way back here on the T-Rex side and the Iguanodon right back here next to the Pentaceratops. This figure is also from Jurassic World Dominion, and it is the classic T-Rex figure with the new dark brown coloring and the black on top. And it has an action button and a swivel action on its tail, so you can control this figure's torso and its jaw. And up against that T-Rex is this Rajasaurus figure, also a carnivore, but a whole lot smaller. It comes in the dark blue coloring with the gray detailing and the purple spikes on top, and an attack action when you press down on its body. So let's put the T-Rex way back here on the T-Rex side and the Rajasaurus over here on the prey side. The next T-Rex is another massive one. This is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. It has some of the best painting and detailing on its body, and it has some really cool yellow marbled eyes too. And up against that T-Rex is the Ouranosaurus figure. I think this is from Camp Cretaceous. It has a dark green body with some yellow detailing and some orange underneath its chin and a little bit of blue on its mouth too. Plus it has an action button on its side that you can move for sound effects and head movement. Now let's put the Hammond T-Rex over here on the second row and the Ouranosaurus right next to the Rajasaurus. This next T-Rex is another Legacy Collection T-Rex in the dark green coloring, but it's a bit different from the one that I showed you earlier because it only has the black spots on the top, but it still has the really cool button on the top of its head for the chomping and roaring. And the prey that it's up against is this Scorpionator figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a brown coloring over its whole body. It looks like it almost has scales on its skin, and some orange detailing along the top and some bright orange eyes. Plus it has an attack action when you press down on its body. So we're gonna place this T-Rex right here next to the Hammond Collection T-Rex and the Scorpionator over here on the other side, right next to the Ankylosaurus. Next up is another brand new figure to my collection. This is the T-Rex collectible from the Noble Collection. So this is a multi-piece collector's edition. You can actually place the T-Rex in the display right here. Got the awesome banner right on the side, just like in the first movie. And then it also comes with this nice little protective case that you can put right over the T-Rex, and it has a little background as well. And the prey that collector's T-Rex is up against is this Parasaurolophus from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got some really cool blue and orange detailing, and the blue right along the top of its head too. So now let's place this collector's T-Rex right here in the back, right next to the Transformers T-Rex Jeep, and the Parasaurolophus right in front here next to the Scorpiovinator. And last of all, we've got the massive Terran T-Rex figure. This T-Rex has the gray-brown coloring on the sides, a darker brown along the top, and the lighter underbelly. But best of all, it has these two massive action buttons on its back. One activates the tearing action, and the other button activates a huge tail swinging action. And the final prey for this Versus collection is this Pachycephalosaurus. It has a pale purple coloring and some darker purple detailing along its back and along the side of its face too. Plus, there's an attack action that when you press down on the tail, it activates its headbutting action. Now let's go ahead and place this Terran T-Rex way in the back over here, and this Pachycephalosaurus right in front of the Tyrannosaurus. First up, we've got a ginormous Spinosaurus figure. This is the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the brown body and red along its spine and face, and it's got the action button on its head for the chomping and roaring. Next up, we've got the Terran T-Rex. This T-Rex has a really cool ability. When you press down on this button, it does a tearing action. Look at that, it's like tearing away some meat. That's really cool. And it comes with a second action button to swing the tail. Next up, we've got a big old Therizinosaurus figure, just like in the Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's got the red stripe down its back all the way to the top of its head, and this figure has some special features as well. There is a button on its tail to activate the jaw and the neck, and you can use the tail to swivel the torso back and forth. Plus, check out those huge claws. Next dinosaur is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. This figure has a light brown body with gray detailing. It has one button on the top of its back for the roaring and chomping. And the tail, when you twist it, stomps its feet. Some pretty cool sound effects that come with it too. Next up, we've got a big old Carnotaurus figure. This has a light red or orange coloring along most of its body. It's got the gray underbelly and the brown top, and tons of little bumps along its back, as well as the two horns on the top of its head. And this figure has an action button for the chomping, and you can use the tail to move the head around too. Here's another T-Rex that I bought just recently. This is the new Extreme Battle Damage T-Rex. Check it out, there's a button on its back that you can use to activate the battle damage on the side. That's pretty cool. And the rest of the figure is fully posable as well. Here is another ginormous T-Rex in the back. This one is camo colored, and I believe it's custom colored. That was done a long time ago. And this figure has a few actions that you can do with the tail. You can move the tail up, and it does a roaring pose. And you can move the tail down, and it does a chomping action. This dinosaur is a Baryonyx. It's got the light green coloring and the light brown and dark brown along the top. And it's got an action button on its back for the chomping. Right over here is an Albertosaurus. This figure is medium sized. It's got the dark green coloring along its body and that red maroon color all the way along the top of its head. And this Albertosaurus actually has the battle damage, both on its leg and the battle damage that you can open and close on its side. And you can even bring the rib cage up and down to reveal the stomach inside. Here is another Baryonyx figure. This one is light gray with blue and light green coloring and a little bit of white along the side. and it has the slide lever action to activate the roaring sound effects and the jaw too. Here's another Baryonyx figure. This one has light green coloring along with some darker green along the top and on its legs, and the darker brown along its neck and the top of its head too. This Baryonyx figure also has the slide lever action that you can use for the sound effects and the chomping. This is the Majingasaurus figure. It's a bit smaller. It's got the dark green coloring with the yellow and bright blue detailing along the sides. It has teeny tiny arms that are adjustable, and you can use the tail to move the neck and head around. Let's see what we got next up. This is a Carcharodontosaurus figure. It has the dark blue coloring with the yellow and brown detailing along the top. The arms, legs, and tail are fully adjustable, and there's a button on its back for the chomping. Here is a Cryolophosaurus figure. This one has some really cool crowning along the top of its head in that bright orange color, while the rest of its body is yellow and brown along the top. With this figure, you can use the tail to control the head as well. Here is another Baryonyx figure. This one has some bright orange coloring right along the top of its head though. And of course, it's got the button on its back to activate the jaw. Next up, we've got a dark red Carnotaurus figure. This dinosaur has the light underbelly and some purple detailing along the top of its body. And it is very textured. You can see those bumps and ridges all over everywhere. And of course, it's got the huge horns at the top of its head, plus an action button to activate the chomping. Next up, we've got a super bright yellow Suchomimus figure. This dinosaur has the brown detailing along the top. It's got that spine all the way from its head, all the way down almost to the end of its tail. And this figure has two action buttons. The first is for the jaw and the chomping, and the second action button activates the tail for swinging around. This dinosaur is a Metriacanthosaurus. It's a bit smaller than the other figures. It's got the dark red coloring with some darker detailing along the top, and the bright yellow-orange coloring right along its head. And of course, it's got an action button on its back to activate the jaw. I've got another Suchomimus figure. This one is a dark blue color with some bright yellow detailing along the top and along that spine that goes all the way to its tail. These Suchomimuses have really long and narrow snouts, still full of teeth though, and there is an action button on its back to activate the chomping. Next up is another Carcharodontosaurus figure. This one is tan in color with the brown and orange detailing along the top, and it's got all these little spikes right along its spine, running all the way down to the tail. It's pretty interesting. And this figure has an action button that activates the jaw once again. That's pretty cool. Here we've got an Allosaurus figure with the light tan coloring along the underbelly and the sides, and the darker blue along the top of its back all the way to the top of its head. This figure also has the slide lever action for a bunch of different sound effects and chomping actions. Over here we've got a big Dilophosaurus figure in the bright red coloring along with the green, brown, and red along its frills, and that super bright yellow crown on the top of its head too. This figure is pretty basic though, so it doesn't have any action buttons, but you can still move the arms, the legs, and the tail, as well as move the frills back and forth. Here is a basic Spinosaurus figure. This one is a lot smaller than the Spinosaurus that we saw at the beginning of this video, and this one has the dark green coloring, but still has the iconic red spine and the red around the eyes as well. And on this figure, you can't open and close the jaw, but you can just move the arms, the legs, and the tail. Next up, we've got a huge Carnotaurus figure. This one has some darker red, basically brown coloring along the side. It has a dark gray underbelly and the black along the top. And this figure has a few actions too. The tail actually controls the head, so you can swing that around and up and down, and there's a button on the tail to activate the jaw too. Here is another Cryolophosaurus figure. This one is a dark blue color. It's got the light underbelly and some white detailing on the sides, and then a bunch of red along its back and on the crown on the top of its head too. And just like the other one that we saw, you can use the tail to control the neck. Here is the Baryonyx from the Hammond collection. This Baryonyx is way more adjustable than a lot of figures that you'll see in here. Check that out. You can move its elbows and its arms, all over on its legs. It's pretty realistic with its movement, and it's got a bit more texturing than a lot of the other Baryonyx figures that I have. Looks like we've got some mini Dilophosaurus figures in here. This first one is a soft purple color, and it's got some yellow, orange, and red on its frills. Looking pretty scary. And I've also got this soft green Dilophosaurus that's also got some orange and some yellow on it. And this one actually has an action that when you move the tail, it springs the frills up. That's really cool. Here is the Irritator figure. Most of this figure is dark brown. It's got a little bit of the light underbelly, and it's got some cool dark blue and light blue detailing all along its spine, all the way to the top of its head. And check out that super long mouth with all those teeth. All right, looks like we got another giant Dilophosaurus figure in here. This one is green and has red frills and the red crown. And just like the other one, you can open and close the frills, as well as move the arms, legs, and the tail too. Next up, I believe that this is the Roarivore Allosaurus. This dinosaur is gray all along its body and has the yellow detailing right along the top of its body, all the way to the tip of its head. Here is another Metriacanthosaurus figure. This one is a dark mustard yellow along most of its body and underbelly, and it's got that dark green detailing along the top of its back all the way to its head. And it has an action button on its back for chomping the jaw. We've got another Albertosaurus figure in here. This one does not have the battle damage on its side though. It's got the bright orange detailing on its side all the way up to its eyes, while the rest of its body is a dark green color. This figure has an action where you can move the tail to control the head, as well as press the button on its tail to activate the jaw too. Check it out, another Baryonyx figure. This one has the bright reflective blue coloring on the top of its head, while the rest of its body is a soft brown color and a dark gray blue detailing along the top. And it's got the action button on its back for the jaw. Looks like we've got a few Monolophosaurus figures in here as well. This first one is a brown color with gray detailing, and it's pretty adjustable. It's a pretty small figure though. This other Monolophosaurus figure actually has some battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and is fairly adjustable as well. And this final one is a dark green color, has some yellow detailing and that bright red detailing, and check out those green eyes too. And this figure actually has an action button. When you move the tail, it chomps its jaw open and closed. Last of all, we've got a Gallimimus figure. This dinosaur is a soft brown color and it has some darker brown striping along the top, and you can move its head up and down as well as its other limbs too. First, let's check out the T-Rexes that are already set up. This first one is my oldest super colossal T-Rex figure. It is a custom colored green camo T-Rex. And best of all, it's even got some battle damage painted all over its body. On the right side is another super colossal T-Rex. This one is custom colored a gray-blue color. You can see that it has the battle damage on its body, but it is not painted. And the coolest part of this figure is its bright red eyes and its dark gray teeth. The next T-Rex figure on this face-off is the new Dino Trackers T-Rex. This T-Rex comes in the brand new tan coloring with the yellow and gray detailing on the top. It's got the headpiece and an attack feature. Now let's set this one up on the left side right here, right under the super colossal T-Rex. The next T-Rex is the new Legacy Collection T-Rex in the dark green coloring. It's got some gray and yellow too, and it has the button at the top of its head for the chomping action. And we're gonna put this figure on the right side underneath this super colossal figure. This next figure is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. This is one of my most detailed and posable T-Rex figures. It's got an amazingly detailed face. It even has some rubber on the inside of its mouth for added realism. And the dark speckled paint job over its whole body is a really nice feature. So let's add this to the left side. Next up is the brand new 93 Jurassic Park edition red T-Rex. Aside from its really cool coloring and its soft skin, this T-Rex actually has a pretty unique feature for these smaller dinosaurs. It actually has a stomach compartment so that you can feed it smaller dinosaurs. And for the most part, all these other smaller dinosaurs don't have that feature. That's pretty cool. And we're gonna put this one on the right side. The next awesome T-Rex figure from Jurassic World is this battle damage T-Rex. This one comes in the orange and brown coloring. As you can see, it has battle damage painted on its tail, its leg, its body, and a little bit on its face. And of course, it has the button at the top of its head for the chomping action too. All right, let's go ahead and put this on the left side over here. Now here's a bigger T-Rex figure. This one is the Jurassic World Dominion figure. And as you can tell, compared to the Legacy Collection, at least right here, this Dominion T-Rex is quite a bit larger. It comes in the dark brown coloring with the black detailing on top, and you can use the tail to wiggle the torso back and forth and open and close the mouth. All right, let's put this one on the right side. All right, next up is another Legacy Collection T-Rex. Although this one is a little bit older than this one. I bought this one very recently, and this one was released quite a long time ago. But it also comes in a dark green coloring with some black detailing on the top. I'd say it's around the same size as the new Legacy Collection figure. And of course, it has the chomping button at the top of its head. Now let's put this figure right here on the front of the left side. Here we've got a very classic looking T-Rex. I think this one might be from Camp Cretaceous, but either way it's from one of the Jurassic World series. This dinosaur is in the soft brown coloring with a little bit of darker coloring along the top and the button on the head for chomping. Now let's put this T-Rex on the right side. Let's see if we can sneak it right next to the Legacy Collection right there. This huge orange T-Rex, I believe, is from the Fallen Kingdom era, and I think is a little bit larger than many of the other figures. At least its torso is bigger. And this T-Rex actually has some pretty unique features. You can use the tail when you press it upwards, it has a chomping action. And when you press the tail downward, it has a roaring pose. That's pretty awesome and pretty unique, and we're gonna put this one on the left side over here. For the right side, we've got another of that same T-Rex over here, but this one is actually a custom colored version of it. So it has the same chomping action and roaring action, but as you can see, it has this really awesome custom camo painting over its whole body. This figure is definitely one of my favorites, and we're gonna place it on the right side right here. This next Jurassic World T-Rex is an extreme battle damage edition T-Rex. It has some pretty normal coloring with the brown and a little bit of gray detailing on top, but of course the battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off. So it blends right in, and then you can show the battle damage when you want to. Now let's go ahead and put this T-Rex on the left side. For the next T-Rex, I've got this super old Jurassic Park T-Rex. This is the JP29 T-Rex. It also has the real feel skin and a feature that when you move its tail back and forth, it actually moves its torso too, although it's a little bit old, so it doesn't work quite as well. And we're gonna set this super vintage T-Rex right in the front here, because sadly this is the only way it can sit up now. Here's another pretty rare and vintage T-Rex, although not quite as old as that T-Rex right there. I believe this T-Rex is from the first Jurassic World movie. This Jurassic World T-Rex is actually a hybrid T-Rex, so it looks mostly like a T-Rex, but when you press this button on its back, some spikes pop out of its back and the top of its head, and that is definitely not normal for a T-Rex. Now let's go ahead and put this on the left side right here. For the right side, I've got another bright orange T-Rex with the darker coloring along the top. It features a fully posable body and the button at the top of its head for chomping and roaring. And we're gonna put this one on the right side, way in the back over here. Next up from the Camp Cretaceous toy line is the epic Roarin' T-Rex, one of my favorite T-Rex figures. It has the brown body and a tail that controls the neck and head and the jaw chomping too. Now let's put this over on the left side, right behind this super old T-Rex right here. Next for the right side is this Stomp and Escape T-Rex. It has some pretty normal coloring with the brown and some gray detailing, and it has this huge action button on its back for a massive roaring action. All right, now let's put this over on the right side. This is another custom colored camouflage T-Rex figure, but this one is a bit cooler because it is actually also a battle damage T-Rex. So it features a fully posable body, you can move the head around, you can pose the mouth however you want, and it has the battle damage that you can turn on and off as you choose. Now let's put this on the left side over here, way in the back. Here is another bright orange T-Rex. I think we actually have another one of these already. So it has all the same features and the jaw chomping action. So I'm gonna put this one on the right side, right next to the other orange one. This Jurassic World T-Rex is the Terran T-Rex. And it's called that because it has two buttons on its back for the special feature. The first is a massive tearing action where it swings its whole neck around and closes its mouth. And the second button on its back activates a huge tail swinging action. All right, now let's put this one on the left side next to the Camo T-Rex. Here's another pretty old figure from the first Jurassic World movie. This is a custom colored T-Rex that actually used to be pretty similar to this one, but it was tan in color. But you can tell that they're kind of the same body size and shape. And this T-Rex, since it's not a hybrid, does not have spikes coming out of its back, but there is an action button for some jaw chopping action. Let's go ahead and settle this T-Rex down right on the right side here. And you know what? Here is that T-Rex that I was just talking about. This T-Rex used to be this one in coloring. You can see that they're the same size, but I got it custom colored, so it's bright red, and here's the original version in tan coloring. And now we're gonna put this one on the left side next to the hybrid T-Rex right here. Up next is another vintage Jurassic Park T-Rex. This is a juvenile T-Rex, and it has some massive battle damage right on its side. Let's go ahead and set this one down on the right side here. This next T-Rex is the Sound Surge T-Rex. This came out for Jurassic World Dominion, so it's pretty small. You can still open and close its mouth, and it has one button for the sound effects. And we're gonna place this T-Rex on the left side, right over here. Next up, I've got a pretty special one. It comes in an egg and is from Jurassic Park. This is a baby T-Rex figure right here. This one's pretty cool because it's got the marbled eyes, and you can tell it actually has a bandage on its leg too. All right, now we're gonna put this one on the right side. We're just gonna nestle it back way in there. This next Jurassic World figure is a pretty funky one. This is a Gujitsu Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. So it is made of a really gooey substance. Most of its body is like rubber almost. And on the inside of its body, if I can squeeze it hard enough, you can actually see that there are some bones. It must be digesting something inside of its stomach. So let's put this one on the left side right here. This next figure is the Funko Pop Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. You can see it comes on a stand. It has the huge classic head and the black eyes. And we're gonna put this one on the right side here. Next up is a small, kind of cute looking T-Rex. I think this one might be from Camp Cretaceous. It has the bright orange body and actually a little spinning dial on its back here for the chomping action. All right, let's put this one on the left side here. I've got a smaller T-Rex here. This one is another vintage Jurassic Park T-Rex. It is a juvenile T-Rex with a broken bone feature right there. You can see that you can kind of bend its leg off. Plus, it's pretty unique in coloring. It's almost like a purple color with the brown on the sides. So now let's put this on the right side here. And finally, and even smaller, is this juvenile T-Rex in the bright green coloring with some dark green on the top and on the leg. And it has an action that when you press down on its tail, it chomps its jaw shut. And I believe that this baby T-Rex actually came as a set with this Legacy Collection T-Rex. So we're gonna put them side by side. Now, which team of T-Rexes do you think would win in a battle? The left side or the right side? Let me know in the comments below. is the Isla Sorna capture pack. Let's go ahead and open it up. All right, here is our Jurassic World Jeep and the Parasaurolophus. With this Jeep, there's actually a button you can press that shoots out the seat. And then you can see that there's a missile that it shoots too, just like this. That's super cool. This is a super awesome dino hunting playset. Really cool. All right, up next, we've got a Jurassic World Legacy Collection Velociraptor. Let's get this out of the box. All right, so here is the brand new Velociraptor. I don't think I actually have a Velociraptor with this type of coloring. Plus, this Velociraptor has a slashing action with its torso. Look at that spinning motion. That is so cool. It's spring-loaded, so it bounces back and forth. That is really awesome. All right, up next, we've got the Pachycephalosaurus. I love the coloring on this one. It's got that dark blue with the gray. Let's get this out of the box. This is a super cool herbivore. You definitely don't want to get head-butted by this dinosaur. Check out this action move. Spring-loaded head. That is so awesome. And right back here, we've got the Cosmoceratops. That is so interesting. Look at all the horns all over this one's body. Let's get it out of the box. Wow, I love the way this dinosaur looks. It looks like it's wearing a crown almost. And look at the horns on the side too. And this dinosaur has an action as well. Check that out. When you wiggle the tail, the head goes up and down. How cool is that? All right, I know you've been looking at this one. This is a giant Velociraptor. Look how big this figure is. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 3 feet from tail to head. And it's actually pretty heavy too. This dinosaur has a stomach compartment right here. So you can actually feed this dinosaur littler dinosaurs or whatever you want, and it'll go down the throat all the way into the stomach where you can open it up and get those toys out again. That is so awesome. And look at the size of these claws too. Right in the back here, we've got the great Tyrannosaurus Rex. Look at the size of this dinosaur. Look at the size of its body. That is a huge neck and face. And of course, there's the action button for roaring. That is so cool. There's so many teeth in its mouth. And of course, you can wiggle the tail and it'll move its head back and forth. Up next, with a super long neck, we've got the awesome Brachiosaurus. Look at that interesting bump on its head right there. That is so cool. This figure doesn't have any movable parts, but it is super realistic with its coloring and its texture. That is so cool. And one of the next huge dinosaurs in this haul, the great Indominus Rex with battle damage. Look at all those teeth and the awesome battle damage on the side that you can turn on and turn off. There we go. Right up here, we've got a Stegosaurus with a gray-blue coloring. Look at that tail swiping action. That is so cool. And you can adjust the head too. Here's one of my favorite dinosaurs, the Carnotaurus. That is super awesome. It's got a little battle damage on its head. And with the tail, you can move the head. Here's what I think is one of the scariest predators in Jurassic World. This is the Scorpius Rex. It's got loads of teeth in its mouth, super sharp claws, and look at this poisonous tail. Those quills on its tail are poisonous, so you better watch out for those. Here is a super bright dinosaur. This is a predator. It is the Suchomimus. Look at that long mouth with all those teeth. Kind of like an alligator, really. And look at that fin all along its back right there. Right over here is an herbivore. This is the Ankylosaurus. And look at all that armor plating. Here is a scary looking predator. Look at that red all along its neck. This is the Carcharodontosaurus. This is a super cool looking dinosaur. See all those spikes along its back? That is super awesome. Right over here, this predator looks kind of like an alligator too. This is the Sarcophagus with all those teeth in its mouth and this red scaling all along its back and then the green bottom. All right, we've got a bunch more predators and herbivores in here. These two are both Carcharodontosauruses, and look at the difference in coloring too. I think this one's my favorite because I love this orange right along the top of its body. But these are both super cool dinosaurs. Right over here, we've got another herbivore, and look at the horns on this. It kind of reminds me of the horns of a bull, kind of. This is a Nasutoceratops, and it's got an action button in the back. It can whip its tail back and forth. That is super awesome. And it's got a button on the top for swinging its horns around too. Watch out for those horns. All right, let's keep digging. Ooh, this is an interesting looking herbivore. This is a Calavosaurus. I love the coloring on this. Got the yellow on the top and the dark blue on the sides. And you can move the head up and down and the tail and all the legs too. Uh-oh, better watch out. Here's another predator. It's the Baryonyx. This is super cool. Check out that chomping action. Here is another herbivore. This is a very uniquely colored dinosaur. This is a Zuniceratops, and it kind of reminds me of a Triceratops, you know? See those two horns in the front right there? That is super cool. We've got some smaller herbivores in here. Let's check these out. Wow, these are all so different from each other. This is a Chialingosaurus. And look at those spikes on its shoulder too. How interesting is that? This little one right here is a Protoceratops. It looks very small, and it might be a young Protoceratops, but it is super cool. This orange dinosaur is a Gallimimus. Look at that long neck and the long tail. I bet these dinosaurs ran really fast. And this little dinosaur is a Triceratops. See, got the 3 horns on its head right there. But wait, we've got some more predators in here. Look out, it's the Endoraptor, one of the sneakiest and smartest dinosaurs out there. Let's check out these. This is a baby Brachiosaurus. You can open and close its mouth and move its neck up and down. And this is another giant Stegosaurus. It's got that tail swinging action. Those spikes are super big. Wow, that is so neat. Here comes another predator. This is the Spinosaurus. Look at that huge spine along its back, and then all those teeth right up front. All right, we've got a few more dinosaurs in here. This huge dinosaur figure is a Pentaceratops. And check out these action buttons. Those are some massive horns on its head. Right back here, we've got another Parasaurolophus. And this is an older one. This is actually from Jurassic Park. And it's got a running action too. How cool is that? Super cool. We've got just a few dinosaurs left. This dinosaur is called a Sinoceratops. And look at the size of that one horn on its head in the very front. That is humongous. All right, here's another predator. This is a bright red and green velociraptor with jumping action. Check that out. Here he goes, ready, and go. All right, these are our final 3 dinosaurs of the Predator versus Herbivore collection. This is a Styracosaurus, and look at all those horns. That is super cool. This interesting looking one is a Shringosaurus. Look at those huge horns right on the top of its head and the super long neck. How interesting is that? And our final dinosaur of the bin is the mighty Kentrosaurus with those huge spikes on its side. And if you pull this lever right here, it swings its spikes back and forth. Let's get started with these super colossal figures. This is the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex with the dark brown coloring and the black detailing along its body. The other super colossal T-Rex I have selected for this collection is a custom colored one. Check out this light blue coloring and the dark red eyes. And this T-Rex figure is definitely a lot older than the Dominion T-Rex figure. And we're gonna stand them together on the T-Rex side. And now for the I-Rex side. This is the super colossal I-Rex figure. I believe was released as part of Camp Cretaceous. It's got a whole lot more bumps and texturing compared to the T-Rex figures, and I love its teeth. And that figure is gonna go over here on the I-Rex side. And next up, why don't we open up the brand new Dino Trackers Indominus Rex. Now this new I-Rex figure is very interesting. It's actually quite a bit smaller than many of my other I-Rex figures. You can see the barcode scanner right there for the app, so you can check that out on your phone. Of course, it's still got the same coloring and detailing as many of the other I-Rex figures, but this one has a feature that I don't know I've ever seen before. It has the button on its tail to activate the chomping. But check that out, there's some glowing green lights inside. That's pretty cool. So now let's set this on the I-Rex side, right in front of the Super Colossal. Now let's go over here to our bin and grab another T-Rex. We're first gonna go with this one. I believe this is a Camp Cretaceous Battle Damage T-Rex. They actually released another one for Jurassic World Dominion that's pretty similar, other than it has different coloring. But these figures are pretty cool because they've got the huge battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. That's pretty cool. And we're gonna place this right underneath the Dominion T-Rex. Now back to the I-Rexes, we're gonna grab this camouflage I-Rex one. This one looks pretty wild. Now this one is actually a custom colored I-Rex. So all this coloring you can see here was done in detail by someone that I bought from on eBay. Even the blood on its mouth too. That's pretty awesome. Now let's find a place for it on the I-Rex side. How about way there in the back? There we go. Now back to the T-Rexes, we're gonna go with this big figure. This is the Terran T-Rex. This Jurassic World T-Rex has the classic brown coloring over most of its body and a slightly lighter underbelly. You can see it's got some hidden battle damage along its face. It looks like those are kind of scars. That's pretty cool. But the special feature of this figure is the button on its back, which causes a huge tearing action. And not only that, but there's another button on its back to swing the tail back and forth too. So now let's set this on the T-Rex side, and we're gonna have it go way in the back over here. And this T-Rex is really face to face with that I-Rex figure. Next, let's grab this huge I-Rex figure right here. This is the Battle Damage Edition I-Rex. Check out the size difference between this one and the Dino Tracker I-Rex that I just bought. This one might be twice the size of that one. And it's still got all the cool texturing and spikes and detailing. Plus it has the battle damage on its side that you can turn on and off. Now let's set this one in the back here, right next to the Super Colossal I-Rex. For the T-Rexes, we're gonna go with the Jurassic World Dominion version. Now this T-Rex figure looks very similar to the Dominion Super Colossal figure right here. You can tell that this was the color theme that they were going for that film. And like many other T-Rex figures, it has the tail that can move the torso around, as well as open and close the jaw. And we're gonna put this one right next to the older super colossal T-Rex. Let's dive back in here. This other giant T-Rex figure is one of the classic I-Rexes. This Jurassic World figure is pretty similar to the battle damage one way back here, except that it doesn't have the battle damage on the side. Instead, it has a button right on its back used for slashing its claws. Plus, of course, you can use the button on the tail to activate the jaw. And we're gonna set this one right next to the battle damage I-Rex. This is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex from Jurassic World. And this figure's built a little bit differently than a lot of the other T-Rex figures. You can see that its legs actually have different joints as well as this big joint right in its torso. And I'll show you what that does. So it has this really cool action where it lifts up its head to roar. And the other cool part is that you can actually twist the tail to get stomping action with sound effects. So that's why those weird looking joints are right there. And of course, this T-Rex figure is gonna go on the T-Rex side. This next one is a pretty special I-Rex figure. This is a hybrid edition I-Rex. Now this Jurassic World figure actually came out for the first Jurassic World movie and was made by Hasbro instead of Mattel, who makes many of the newer figures now. It's got some crazy coloring on its arms and its underbelly and feet and a bright red along its back and its head too. Plus there's a hidden action button on its side that you can press to activate more spikes on its back. So now let's set this on the I-Rex side, right on the front lines. Now right here is that Jurassic World Dominion battle damage T-Rex that I was telling you about earlier. Now let's compare it to the earlier version that they released, and they're pretty similar in shape and size. I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually the exact same figure, but with different coloring. And this Dominion version is a much more like orange-brown coloring over all of its body, but it's still got the battle damage on its side. Now let's set up this T-Rex right next to the others. This next I-Rex figure is pretty unusual actually. It looks totally different than many of the other figures. This figure is still made by Mattel, but I believe it's from the Imaginext line. So it looks to be like a figure for a slightly younger audience. But it has one of the most unique attack actions that I've ever seen. When you move its tail up and down, it actually swings its torso in all sorts of directions. That's pretty cool. That is very unique too. So let's go ahead and set it down on the I-Rex side. This T-Rex figure is another extreme damage T-Rex, but it is not like the others. And that's because it does not have the battle damage opening on the side that you can press a button, but rather it has this painting all over its body for the battle damage. And other than that, it has a very orange coloring with the darker brown on top. And let's set it in the back here next to the Dominion T-Rex. This I-Rex figure is another one made by Hasbro for the first Jurassic World movie. And it sure is quite a bit different. First off, it's got this real feel skin along its neck and on the top of its head. And instead of having a chomping button on its tail, you can actually move its arm to open and close its mouth. And you can kind of tell on its back that it has lights underneath whenever you move its arm, but it's pretty faint, so you can't really tell when it's light out. But nonetheless, let's set it down on the I-Rex side here. For the T-Rex side, we're gonna go with another figure that was released for the first Jurassic World movie, made by Hasbro. This smaller T-Rex figure is a light tan color, much lighter than the Dominion damaged T-Rex back there. And it looks pretty different in design too. It has a much longer head, a smaller body, and it has a single action button on its back for the chomping action. Now this figure is pretty old, so it doesn't work as well, but we're gonna put it right next to the extreme battle damage T-Rex on this side. Up next, we've got the Feeding Frenzy Indominus Rex figure. This figure is a whole lot smaller than a lot of the Indominus Rex figures we've seen so far, but it still has a pretty large face for how small its body is. And it's got some unique special features. First, there's this button on its nose that you can get some sound effects from. Then you can move its tail to open up its mouth. Then you can feed this Indominus Rex by pressing down on its mouth, and it'll chomp its mouth closed. Now let's set this I-Rex right on the front lines against the T-Rexes. This next figure is a classic T-Rex, I think was released for the second Jurassic World movie, which is Fallen Kingdom. It's got the classic brown body with a darker top and a button at the top of its head for the chomping and roaring action. And we're gonna put this guy right on the edge because we're running out of space for all these T-Rexes. This is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex figure released for Jurassic World Dominion. It's pretty basic in design. It has the same coloring as all the rest, but its one big feature is that it has this speaker on its side and this button on the top for the sound effects. Let's place this dino right behind the Feeding Frenzy I-Rex. And I've actually got the Sound Surge edition for the T-Rex as well. It's actually a little bit smaller than the I-Rex figure, but it still has the button on its top for the sound effect. And we're gonna place this one on the front lines of the T-Rex side. This next figure is an even smaller I-Rex figure. This is from the first Jurassic World movie as well. It has some battle damage on its side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail on this figure to move the head and chomp its mouth. Now let's place this kind of in the back for the I-Rex side. We're getting down to just a few T-Rexes left. This is a Lego T-Rex figure for Jurassic World. It has kind of similar coloring compared to the Jurassic World regular figures with the brown, and it's got some darker brown detailing along its body. So why don't we place this right up front here next to the Sound Surge T-Rex. I've also got the Lego I-Rex figure. This one, interestingly, is actually a similar color to the Lego T-Rex over here instead of the classic gray coloring for the I-Rex. I think that makes it pretty cool. Plus, it has some really cool teeth. They're pretty unique, I think. Check that out compared to the T-Rex over here. And here's the I-Rex's teeth. And our next T-Rex figure is a super small green T-Rex figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got a pretty large face for its size. It has some battle damage right on the side of its body, and you can use the tail to chomp the head and move the head back and forth too. Let's set this up right next to the Lego T-Rex. And here is our final I-Rex. This, I believe, is the Bite and Thrash Indominus Rex. Now, similar to this T-Rex that we just saw a moment ago, this one has the battle damage right on the side, and you can use the tail to move the head up and down and chomp the jaw. And we're actually gonna leave this figure right here, right in front of the Lego I-Rex. And here is our final figure of this collection. It is a juvenile T-Rex figure. It has a light green body with a darker brown accenting on its back, and you can use the tail to chomp the mouth open and closed, which is pretty cool considering how small this figure is. Now the full collection is set up. Who do you think would win in this battle? The T-Rexes or the I-Rexes? Let's get started. First up is the super colossal Indominus Rex. This figure has the classic gray coloring like you'll see in the movies. It's got a super textured and bumpy back. It's got the spines right along its neck right there. And it has a super scary looking set of teeth. Plus, this figure is fully posable. You can move the tail, you can move the legs and the ankles, you can move the arms and the wrists, and you can twist the neck around too. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Super Colossal Atrociraptor. This figure has a body shape very similar to the Velociraptors that we'll see later on. It's got the classic coloring like you'll see in the movie for an Atrociraptor. It's got a smaller and more narrow mouth than the Indominus Rex, and its teeth are a lot more evenly spaced too. It's got those red eyes, and this figure is fully posable. It can move the wrists and the arms. You can twist the neck back and forth, ankles, the legs, and the tail as well. Next up is the super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex with custom coloring. This T-Rex is super bright. It's got the bright red on the belly and the sides. It's got some yellow-orange detailing right along the black, and then the full black top. Plus, it's got some more intricate detailing with the black and orange along its face too. And interestingly, there's no pupil in this T-Rex's eyes at all, so it makes it look a lot more scary and menacing looking. And you can even see that its teeth are dirty too. That's intentional to make it look a lot more realistic. And of course, this T-Rex is fully posable as well, with the arms, legs, neck, and the tail too. And what I didn't mention for the other ones yet is that all of these have the stomach compartment, so you can actually feed these dinosaurs, smaller dinosaurs, all the way down the throat into their stomach compartment. So let's go ahead and feed this T-Rex a few small dinosaurs. And there they are. Here is another super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex with custom coloring. I believe this T-Rex used to be an orange Tyrannosaurus Rex, but now it is a soft blue-gray color. It's got some darker feet and black nails. And the coolest part is it's got some blood red eyes too, and black and silver teeth. That's pretty cool. I especially like the shading in this dinosaur because it really brings out the texture and all the wrinkles in its skin. That is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and feed this dinosaur a few miniature dinosaurs as well. This is a super colossal velociraptor. It's got a dark black body with some yellow striping down the sides and a light brown top. It's got some pretty cool detailing all over it too. You can see that there's some lighter specks in its skin, and you can see the texture of its skin everywhere. Look at that. That's really cool. It's also got some massive claws on its hands, and of course some massive claws on its feet as well. Look at the size of those things. It's almost as big as my thumb. And my favorite part of this velociraptor is the color of its eyes. Look at how detailed that is. It's got some orange, it's got some gold, it's got some bright red in there, and then the narrow pupil to make it look pretty menacing. And when you open up the mouth, you can see that it's got a fine set of teeth. They all look pretty clean and in place. That's pretty cool. Let's give this velociraptor a little mini dino snack. This is another velociraptor super colossal figure, but as you can probably already tell, it is Velociraptor Blue. It's got the blue stripe all the way down to its tail on both sides of its body. It's also got those amazing gold, orange, and yellow eyes with the amazing detail. It's got the full set of teeth, and it's got some pretty cool texture all over its body too. The belly on this Velociraptor is actually a light yellow, and just like the other super colossal figures, it is fully posable with the wrists, the arms, the legs, the tail, just all over its body. This super colossal T-Rex, I believe, is from Camp Cretaceous. It's got the light orange body with the lighter underbelly and the brown top. It's also got some awesome texturing all over its body, some wrinkles and scars and scrapes, make it look a lot more realistic. This T-Rex has yellow eyes and round pupils, which make it look a little bit less scary, and it's got the full set of teeth on the outside of its jaw, so when you close it, you can still see it on the outside as well. This figure is fully posable as well, just like the other ones, so why don't we go ahead and give this T-Rex a mini dino snack. Here's a different dinosaur from what we've seen so far. This is an Apatosaurus. This figure is a bit smaller from the T-Rexes and other figures that we've seen in this video so far, but compared to a lot of the other Jurassic World figures, this thing is still huge. Most of its body is dark green. It's got some lighter green detailing along the top, and it's got a light tan green underbelly. With this figure, you can actually open and close the mouth. You can see some teeth in there, some tiny little teeth. It's got tons of detail around its face too. It's got wrinkles all over its eyes. It's got black eyes. You can move the head around. You can move the neck back and forth. You can move the legs up and down as well. And you can swing the tail back and forth too. We're in our last row of super large dinosaurs now. This is another super colossal T-Rex with different coloring than all the rest of them. You can see it's got some battle damage detailing along its neck and underneath its chin. The rest of its body is dark green. It's got some black detailing and stripes along the top and a lighter underbelly. And this figure has gold eyes too, which is pretty cool. Now with this figure, because it's so old, when you open it up, you'll see that there's not that many teeth left. That's because a lot of them broke off, sadly. And it actually came with sound effects originally when you opened up the jaw. It's kind of broken now, so you can't really hear them. Let's give this T-Rex a few mini dinosaurs as well. Next up, we've got the super colossal Carnotaurus Toro. This figure has the classic clay red coloring for the Carnotaurus with the brown coloring along the top. It's got a ton of little spikes and bumps along its back, as well as the iconic horns right above its eyes. It's also got some battle damage right on its nose too. And just like the T-Rex figures, the teeth are on the outside of the jaw, so when you close it, you can still see the teeth. It's kind of hard to notice, but it does also have black spots, little specks, all over its body to give it a little more texture and detail too. See, like right there, you can see some. That's pretty cool. I like the attention to detail. Here is the Jurassic World Dominion Giganotosaurus. This figure is a jungle green color with black detailing and stripes all over the top of its body. It's got this huge spike all the way down its back, all the way down its tail as well. And on its face, it's also got some unique features as well. It's got some ridges and some detailing right around its eyes. Its eyes are a gold color with the narrow pupil, making it look a lot more evil. It has similar teeth to the Indominus Rex in that they're longer, and when you close it, they fit together perfectly, which I think looks really cool. And all over its body, if you look closely, you can see scars and scrapes and battle damage from past battles, which I think is a really cool detail. Let's give a few miniature dinosaurs to this hungry Giganotosaurus. Next up, we've got the Brachiosaurus figure. This figure is super tall. I can't even get its head in frame when it's standing up straight all the way. But let's check out the details of its face. You can still open and close its mouth, and it's got some tiny little teeth in there. It's got the black eyes and this ridge right above its head, and this super long neck that you can move up and down, as well as adjustable legs and a tail too. Plus, the rest of its body has some pretty cool texturing and detailing. Although it is all brown, you can see that it's got some shading and some coloring to make it look a little more realistic. And next, we've got the Jurassic World Dominion Super Colossal T-Rex. This is the newest Super Colossal T-Rex that Jurassic World has released. It's got the dark brown body with black striping and detailing along the top, and the lighter underbelly. And just like the other T-Rex figures, it has the teeth on the outside of its jaw, so that when you close the jaw, you can still see the teeth on the outside. This figure also has yellow eyes and the round pupil, and it has tons of detailing and bumps and texturing all over its face too. Here's a few miniature dinosaurs for this super colossal T-Rex. Let's start with some of the big figures. First off, I bet you will be seeing another T-Rex. Most likely, Rexy the T-Rex. This is the Hammond Collection T-Rex and is one of the most detailed figures that I have. And you know, it'd be really cool if we saw an Indominus Rex figure in this Chaos Theory show. This Indominus Rex figure is even larger than my Hammond Collection T-Rex, and it has two buttons, one for slashing the arms and one for chomping the jaw. I've got a few more really cool T-Rex figures in here. This one is in the classic brown with a darker brown on top and has the button on the top of its head for the chomping. Check out that huge bite. Over here is a Scorpius Rex figure, and I think this would make a great villain dinosaur in the new show. This dinosaur figure has two action buttons, one to chomp its jaw and the other button to slash its arms. Next up is a Tarbosaurus figure. This is one crazy looking dinosaur with all these spikes on its back and then the bright red underneath its chin. It's a pretty cool chomping action too. Back here, we've got a Suchomimus figure. This figure is actually pretty large, and this is the blue and yellow version. And this version has one action button for chomping the jaw. Here's another giant T-Rex figure. This one is the Battle Damage edition, and you can see the battle damage hidden right there on the side. When I press this button at the top, it flips it so that the battle damage is revealed on both sides. Plus, the full body is posable. My next Chaos Theory prediction is a Dilophosaurus. This figure is the bright red basic version, so it's got the green and red frills that you can open and close, and the big yellow crown on the top of its head. This is a Cryolophosaurus figure. This version is the yellow and brown one. And with this figure, you can move the tail around to move the head in a super lifelike way. And I've also got the other version of the Cryolophosaurus. This is the dark blue with the white and a little bit of red on its back. And just like the yellow version that we just saw, you can move the tail to move the head around. I'd say it's a pretty good bet that the Atrociraptor dinosaur will be in the upcoming Chaos Theory show. We saw this species in the Jurassic World Dominion movie, so I think it's gonna come back. Up next, I've got a Baryonyx figure in here. This one is the gray with dark blue coloring and the bright blue on top, and it has the slide lever action for opening and closing its jaw with sound effects. Here's one of my favorite herbivores, the Stegosaurus. This figure is the dark gray-blue version. It has the pink underbelly and the hidden action button on its spine to move its tail back and forth. So you better watch out for those spikes. And here is our first flying dinosaur of this Chaos Theory predictions haul. This is a Pteranodon, and I believe that this one is from the Hammond collection, so it actually has these rubbery wings, which make it look and feel a whole lot more lifelike. Next up is a Velociraptor figure. Now this is Velociraptor Blue, and I don't know that they'll be showing up in the Chaos Theory show, but I definitely think some Velociraptors will. My next prediction is a Carnotaurus. This is one of my favorite predator dinosaurs, and I'd be really excited if it was in the new Chaos Theory show. This is the Sound Surge edition, and there's a button on the side that you can press for the sound effects. I've got another Suchomimus figure in here. Earlier we saw the dark blue version, and this one is the bright yellow with the brown detailing. And this one actually has two buttons. The first button activates that same chomping action, and it has a second button to activate some tail swinging. Next is the ginormous Albertosaurus figure. And you know, I think this dinosaur looks pretty cool as well. It's got the green body with the orange stripe on the side. And with this figure, you can use the tail to move the head around and chomp its jaw. Next, why don't we open up one of the new figures? This is the Epic Evolution Strike Attack Velociraptor. This is a bright orange Velociraptor. It's got some brown detailing along its back and on its legs. And this figure has a spring-loaded slashing action. I actually have a few other Velociraptors that have this same torso-twisting slash action. Overall, pretty cool. Not too much different compared to the older versions of these Velociraptor figures, though. Next up is the Epic Evolution Strike Attack Guaibasaurus. And part of this new Epic Evolution series, you can see what type of environment that this dinosaur is in. And this one looks like it's a swamp type environment. This is a pretty cool looking dinosaur. It's pretty small, similar in size to the Velociraptor figure. Has some cool coloring too. I like this dark green. It's a very swampy color. And this figure has an attack action as well. When you press down on its body, it has a chomping action. That's pretty cool. It's cool little spikes on the top of its head too. Next up is a Quetzalcoatlus, which is actually a flying dinosaur. And this figure is huge. You probably recognize it from the Jurassic World Dominion movie, and I'm hoping that they bring it back for the Chaos Theory show. And this figure has two buttons. One flaps its wings up and down, and the other, underneath its body, opens and closes its jaw. Over here, I've got a Parasaurolophus figure. This one is in the yellow with some purple and reflective pink coloring, which I think is pretty cool. And on this figure, you can move the tail to move the head around. It's got some sound effects too. And actually, here is another Parasaurolophus figure, but this one is from the Hammond collection. So it's a little bit larger, and the detailing and the painting looks to be around the same quality, so there's not a whole lot more texturing or detailing on this figure. Here we've got a Triceratops, and I think this is the first Triceratops in this Chaos Theory predictions haul. This is the dark green version. It's got a bit of brown detailing along the top and on its frill, and it has two action buttons. One moves its head up and down for this stabbing action, and the other swings its tail back and forth. Alright, here we've got the Allosaurus figure. This is another really cool looking predator figure. This version comes in the dark brown with the dark blue coloring along the top, and it has this slide lever action for the roaring and chomping. Here is another T-Rex. This one is quite a bit smaller than the ones that we saw at the beginning though. That's because this is the Sound Surge T-Rex, so it's got a single button on its back for the roar sound effects. Up next, I've got a Baryonyx here, and I think I've actually got another Baryonyx right back here. This first one, though, looks like it has some battle damage on its side. I think this one was released for Fallen Kingdom. And this figure is colored pretty similar to the Allosaurus that we just saw, with the dark brown on the sides and then the dark blue on the top. And it has a single action button for a chomping action. Here is another Allosaurus figure with totally different coloring. It's got the dark green over most of its body with the white and red detailing, and I love these little spikes that run all the way down its back and even a little bit on its tail. Plus, it's got a slide lever action for the chomping and sound effects. And here I've got another Scorpius Rex figure. This one is a bit smaller than the one that we saw a while ago, and it doesn't have any action buttons, but it is very posable with its arms, its legs, and its tail. Check out those quills on its tail too. And you can still manually open and close the mouth. Now here's a pretty special dinosaur figure. This is an Ankylosaurus figure, but this is from the first Jurassic World movie, so it has this special edition armor plating that you can take off to reveal the normal armor plating underneath. And here is a normal Ankylosaurus figure. This one's a bit more recent though, and it comes in the clay red coloring with the tan spikes and the brown shell. And this figure has a ton of armor all over its body. Check out that tail swinging action. And here is our smallest T-Rex figure yet. This version has the little battle damage on the side and the tail that controls the head and the jaw. Up next is an herbivore called the Pachycephalosaurus with the green and orange coloring. And it's got some battle damage right here on the side that you can press down to reveal the damage underneath. I've also got some Monolophosaurus figures in here, which I really hope show up in the Chaos Theory show. This first one is one of my favorites with the dark green, the yellow, and then the bright red along its head, and you can use the tail to chomp its jaw open and closed. There's also this dark blue Monolophosaurus, which looks really cool, although it doesn't have any action buttons. And then there's this bright green version that actually has some battle damage right on the side. We saw one Dilophosaurus figure earlier, and now here are two more, much smaller versions. This first one is a bright green with the frills that are red and yellow, and there's also this dark purple version that has red, yellow, and orange on its frills. And here are four more Velociraptor figures and my final Velociraptors in this Chaos Theory prediction video. I've got this green one that has a button on its back for slashing its arms up and down. Here's another Velociraptor blue, but this one has a battle damage button on its side. There's this darker blue Velociraptor that has some orange on its back and this really cool reflective gold on its head. And this Velociraptor is actually pretty special because it is from the Hammond collection. So it is much more flexible and posable compared to the other Velociraptor figures. Here is a Spinosaurus figure. This specific figure is actually from the first Jurassic World movie, so it's pretty old, but I love the coloring on this figure. And we've got a few more winged dinosaurs in here. This first one is another Pteranodon. It's got the gray with some purple coloring and a tiny little action button for flapping its wings. And then here's another winged dinosaur called the Dimorphodon, and it has pretty much identical coloring with the gray over most of its body and then some purple detailing in certain spots. And here is our only human figure in this haul. I'm sure you've seen it in the teaser that Darius is back. Next up, I've got a cute little Ankylosaurus, and this cute little dinosaur is called Bumpy, as I'm sure you remember. Next up is a bright red Minmi dinosaur. I really love all the spikes and armor plating over this dinosaur. And I've got a few Stygimoloch figures in here. This first one is like a dark brown coloring with some darker purple coloring along its body. And best of all, you can use its tail for the headbutting action. And here is Stygimoloch Stiggy. This figure has some similar coloring. It's a brighter orange-red coloring and then the purple detailing and striping along its body. But on this smaller figure, there is no attack button, so you can't do the headbutting action on this one. I've also got a Gallimimus figure in here. This one's pretty cool with the soft green coloring, and then it has this really cool yellow and brown striping from its back all the way up to its head, and its head is almost entirely that bright yellow color. And last of all, what I really would like to see in Chaos Theory is a Therizinosaurus. Now, we saw this dinosaur in Jurassic World Dominion, and I don't really know that we'll be seeing it in this new show, but I still think it would be really cool. Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.